Hi, I'm Jen Bonet, Executive Director of the Creative Coast. One of our most popular programs is Lunchtime Topics. One day a week, we have an educational program that runs from noon to about 12:45, and it teaches entrepreneurs, creatives, or techies a skill that they need to do their job better. Our topics have ranged from how to work remote, to how to self-publish a book, to resiliency skills, and they continue to grow. We've done one a week since March 23rd of 2020, and they're some of our most popular programs. We've had over 200 people attend these different programs, and we have a lot of repeat customers that come every week. So keep an eye on our calendars so that you can figure out which sessions are beneficial to you as you grow your career.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Thursday, September 2nd. If this is your first time watching live or the recording, Lunchtime Topics is a free educational program of the Creative Coast. And during the program, we feature a business expert and they share their wisdom with Savannah's community of startup founders, digital entrepreneurs, and innovators. The Creative Coast itself is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we exist to help the startup and innovative community thrive in coastal Georgia. We do that through educational and social programming for both adults and youth, the youth being our future entrepreneurs and workforce. I'm Kate. I'm the Director of Programming and Communications here at the Creative Coast. And today's featured speaker, I'm excited to welcome is Nita Penn. She is the Director of Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs, a women's business center here in the Savannah region. And their mission in Savannah is to empower women, minorities, and low to moderate income entrepreneurs through financial education and training. Nita, she's extremely passionate about this mission. And as the director, she's working to make sure Savannah is a place where everyone can grow and thrive in an intentional, inclusive ecosystem. And her work places an emphasis on moderate income, Black, Indigenous, people of color, women-led businesses. So in this role, she's focused on helping people who are maybe transitioning from that side hustle to a full-time into entrepreneurship, or they've got a new business idea and they're just in that idea phase and they're not sure how to get it off the ground, which is kind of what we're going to be talking about today, a good bit of it, or they're ready to expand their business and pivot and try something new. And Anita, a little bit about her, she has over 10 years of experience strategizing creative and innovative organizational development experiences for clients as small as a one-person team to a 600-soldier battalion of the United States Army National Guard. She's also an entrepreneur herself, which gives her insight into helping other entrepreneurs. And today, specifically, a little bit about what she's going to be talking about before I turn it over to her. A lot of times we have this great idea for a business and we get stuck perseverating over it and how we want everything to look and feel, and we get stuck in the concept phase. So she's going to be speaking on moving from that idea or concept phase of your business to setting up actual goals, strategy to achieve those goals, and how to prioritize effectively so that your business can be a success, the success you want it to be, and that you'll also be more likely to access capital. So thank you all for being here today. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Nita, who's going to share her knowledge with us. Thanks, Nita.
No, thank you, Kate. That was awesome. So I think I can skip a few slides because I was.
Sorry, I tend to do that.
That was awesome. I really appreciate it. Hi, everyone. As Kate so awesomely put, my name is Nita Penn. I'm the Director of the Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs Women's Business Center here in the Savannah region. So the Savannah region actually covers a 60-mile radius within the state of Georgia. So I know technically that 60-mile radius is like, up into the Carolinas and stuff, but we only cover the state of Georgia. So that's Glenn County and Tifton and Statesboro, Bullitt County, Hinesville, Fort Stewart. I'm also a veteran. And so I'm really big on working with the veteran communities as well. So how I'm running this workshop is a very, I can't say it's really untraditional, but I am running it in more of a collaborative way. And I like to do forums more than webinars, meaning I love for the participants to actually interact and engage, because this is for you, it's for your learning purposes. So I want to understand some of the things that you're struggling with. We call them in the experience design world pain points. Just to understand that so that we can build out programming, and I do the same for my clients. We can build out programming to actually mitigate those pain points. So if you are comfortable, one of the things that Kate didn't say is I operate from a place of restorative and relatable business practices, meaning that if your hair isn't done, if you don't have on the heels that you wanted to have on, makeup isn't done or whatever, that has nothing to do with your capability. And we're not focused on that. We're focusing on what you actually are bringing to the table, what you're speaking about, what your interests are, what you're passionate about, and what you want to make happen. So if everybody's tracking this, let me get a thumbs up, let me get a wave or something. So to know if you're okay with that. Any reactions? Thank you, Lou. A few others. Thanks, Elizabeth. All right. So can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So that top right QR code goes directly to our website, and that will just allow you access to get right to the Savannah URL page, so you'll know how to get there. You can save it on your phone if you'd like, but I wanted to make sure that you would have access to that immediately, but let's just get into it. So quick overview, she talked about the Women's Business Center. My mother organization is ACE, Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs, Inc., based in the Atlanta, Georgia area. The organization as a whole focuses on capital, coaching, and connections. They have an in-house lending team at ACE. However, because I am the Savannah Region Women's Business Center, I do not focus internally on capital. I focus on coaching and connections that helps us, that helps potential clients and clients to gain access to capital for our local lenders. And primarily we focus on CDFIs, which is Community Development Fund. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness, Community Development funded aid in, oh my goodness. Financial institutions. See, restorative and relatable business practice. Brains on crazy today. So the mission of ACE is to provide community economic development to underserved people and communities. So today you are actually the first introductory class, if you will, or group that is going to be a part of my Tea and Strategy with the Director series. Have my tea here. We are funded by the SBA. Funded in part by the SBA, the other part is by ACE. And as Kate stated, the mission of the ACE Women's Business Center is to empower women, minorities, and low to moderate income entrepreneurs through financial education and training. This particular workshop is focused on moving from the ideation to the planning phase of business development. As I stated before, the Savannah region will focus on coaching and connecting that will lead to referrals to our local CDFI partners to attain capitals. So our two CDFI partners in the Savannah region are the Small Business Assistance Corporation, which is also an SBA loan lender and SBA powered. And they cover like a huge map, like 53 counties within the Lowcountry, including some counties in South Carolina. But we are only covering, like I said, focusing on those Georgia regions. And then the second CDFI partner that we have is Carver State Bank. Carver State actually has some lending opportunities where your credit score isn't an issue. They look at essentially what I'm going to talk about is, do you have a clear plan? Are you actually actively working toward those things? Are you actively working toward getting your credit in order and things like that? So there are a lot of opportunities for people who might not receive traditional funding from banks and such, but this programming can also apply for getting loans from a bank. Kate already went over this. Transitioning from that side hustling to true entrepreneurship, new businesses, idea phase, businesses ready to expand, pivot, or grow, moms who want to start a business, who are in life transitions, and corporate women who want to transition to business owners or entrepreneurship. The thing about ideation and iterating, if you will, is that it happens at all of these phases of business. Here's the thing, why I like to run the forums this way is that I really think that sometimes we can get into a space, especially now, because I know a lot of us have Zoom fatigue with like the nature of the pandemic and things shifting the way it's been and being on so many calls, where we get into this space to where we make a lot of assumptions about what people need or don't need or whatever, and we just tell them what they need. And so for me, I really want to understand, and especially because this is an intimate group, I have like an idea of how I want to run I had an idea of how I want to run the workshop. I have my slides, but just based upon the conversation that we have somebody like Lou, who's essentially freelancing, if you will, and he's operating as a freelancer, but has a potential to transition into like sincere entrepreneurship, because my assumption is that he isn't work. Is anyone, before I say this, is there anyone who is working full time while being an entrepreneur? Raise your hand if that applies to you. There, one person.
Sort of.
Me. Kate, you raise your hand. Anyone else that's working full time? Okay, so we have, so then the rest of you are full-fledged into entrepreneurship, or the other option is, are you currently like unemployed and figuring out how to start or gain capital? Or, you know what I mean? Like, are starting to fund yourself or take care of yourself. That is an option as well. I actually was in that space almost 2 years ago where I wasn't working and I was transitioning into, okay, when the pandemic hit, I actually was, I was working in the tech space in DC, you know, and was laid off. And so I had almost a year where I wasn't working, but my husband was working, of course, but I wasn't working, and I was figuring out, what do I want to do next, right? So it's understanding that people are in so many different phases and meeting them where they are, right? And I try not to have like a blanketed approach. So, but one thing that will definitely apply for everyone is figuring out how to set goals, right? And so who here has ever heard of the term SMART goals? Okay, Liz, Kiwan, Whitney, Lou, Brandy. Okay, Brandy, you have. Kate, have you?
No.
No, okay. So everyone has. So who wants to be the student in the class and tell me what SMART goals are? What is it? Who wants to share? Don't be shy. Do I have to call somebody? I'm gonna call Liz. You work in this
I
space.
remember them all. I just had this on a webinar just like 2 days ago, but it's something, and then measurable, attainable, and then is it a timeline? Something like that?
So that's the T. Yes, you got a few.
Got it. Okay.
Anybody else want to fill in? Can you fill in? You know what SMART goals are?
I just got out of the Start Smart class, but I don't remember what all of them are. Liz actually taught me.
Oh my gosh. See why I don't like webinars?
embarrassed.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. Whitney, do you know?
S is specific,
Uh-huh.
and I can't remember what R is.
Anybody know R?
Measurable.
Measurable is the M. Uh-huh. What's
Realistic?
the R though? What'd you say?
Is it
Realistic.
realistic?
Yes. Realistic. Or see, here's the thing about all of these theories, right? Depending upon, because the thing with innovation, right, is things shift based upon the needs of the market and all of that or whatever, and modernization. So realistic was the original, but it has since shifted to relevant. Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen again. So that is cool. All right, let's see. Okay. Can you all see my screen? Not yet. Okay, you can now. Okay. So what does SMART mean? SMART is an acronym that you can use to guide your goal setting. So I'm a researcher first, so I had to tell you the source. There's the source. So it makes sure that your goals are clear and reachable, and each one should be specific. So you see how there's other letters after it, other words that you can replace in depending upon where you are and what can resonate with you. Specific, simple, sensible, significant. Measurable, meaningful, motivating, achievable, agreed, meaning if it's you and another partner or something, you've agreed upon this, that we can do this. Attainable, relevant or reasonable, realistic, resourced, we have the means to make that happen. Results-based, we know that we're going to get a good outcome if we do this type thing. And time-bound or time-based, time-limited, time cost limited, timely, time-sensitive. Okay, so that you will have it like written down for you, Kiwan, for reference later. Kate has these slides back up if you want to share it.
Appreciate that.
Let me go back. Sorry, I went jump the gun. So that is your SMART goal. And the thing about it is once we actually, then you stop sharing. And here we are from a restorative space. I was complaining to my program coordinator about the fact that like my mouse pad is sticking. So if you hear me going, it's because the mouse pad is being a weirdo and it's getting on my nerves. Anyway, I digress. Let me get to this part of it. So, hold on. I had some words I wanted to share with you. So the thing about SMART goals is when you set them, we want to make sure that we are being intentional about the wording, right? So when you say specific, right, your goal should be clear, and otherwise you won't be able to focus on the efforts because you're still trying to figure out what it is. So when this, from a specificity standpoint, you want to think of the W's, the who, what, when, where, why, in that kind of phase, right? So why do I want to accomplish this goal? See, now people say focus on your why. That's part of it. Another way to think about it from a branding standpoint is like your brand promise, your mission, that type thing, right? Why do I want to accomplish this? Why is it important? Who is involved? Where is it located? Which resources or limits are involved? And that's like a whole other thing of like SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, and threats and all that kind of stuff. But I have an example here, and it says, imagine that you are currently a marketing executive and you like to become head of marketing. So this is more of an internal, like, workforce related thing, but it's still a good example. A specific goal can be, I want to gain the skills and experience necessary to become head of marketing within my organization so that I can build my career and lead a successful team. Normally, how people would set goals would be like, I want to be head of marketing. And it's like, okay, how you gonna do that? It's not very specific, right? You have an idea in mind, but like, what do you need to do to get there? That's essentially what you need to research. And you do that through having conversations with people. So going back to my 3 C's, coaching, asking for help, someone who is head of marketing, reaching out to them to say, hey, what did you do to make this happen? Someone you respect, someone that you look up to. It doesn't have to be in your same organization. It can be in a similar organization or someone who's retired out of that space, that type of thing. So using your resources or using business centers like SBDC, like the ACE Women's Business Center, like SCORE. These are some of our community partners to be like, hey, I want to be able to do this. I want to start a marketing firm from an entrepreneurship standpoint. But I specifically want it to be focused on this. So it's about getting to the meat of your why, okay? Moving on to the M, the measurable. It's important to have measurable goals so that you can track your progress and stay motivated. So going back to that, I want to start a marketing firm. When? Okay, so we have, sometimes you might want to tie it to, sometimes it's important to tie it to the financial piece. For me, it was like, okay, I'm out of work. Okay, I have twin girls. I'm a twin mom too. We live in DC. This isn't a one income type of situation. One income type of situation, right? So I was like, okay, it usually takes this long to be able to transition from this space to this space and to gain the traction, about a year. So within 6 months, I need to be interviewing. Do you understand what I'm saying? So by 6 months, I want to be able to have 5 interviews as it relates to getting this type of role. So setting that measurable, and that goes into the time actually, right? So your goal also, it's important to have measurable goals so that you can track your progress and stay motivated. Assessing progress helps you stay focused, meet your deadlines, and feel the excitement of getting closer to achieving your goals. You want to feel like you're just out in this void and in this space of like, this is never going to happen. But if you actually track it, you'll realize that you're a lot further along than you thought you would be or whatever. Giving you another like relatable example, today my fiscal year started for ACE, for my Women's Business Center yesterday. And I had to plan out my calendar. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And I was doing all these things. And my senior director was like, you got this. Like, I'm worried about your program. And I'm like, no, I'm researching and I'm connecting to the people and I'm doing the things I need to do. I built out my calendar. And when I presented it to her for my performance evaluation, she said, this is too much. I was like, what do you mean? She was like, I told you only need to build it out for the first 2 quarters. She was like, you technically are good for the rest of the year. And I was like, well, look at that. And so essentially with me being like, and this is like wanting to do well, I just made sure that I researched and planned further along. So like I said, I thought that like, okay, I wasn't doing enough, but I actually was. And the funny thing is once I actually stopped and got out of my head, because it happens to even people who are in this space, who are doing the work, who are in different phases of, growth or whatever, to where when life transitions happen, we get into this frantic mode and we have to circle back and go, okay, recenter, I'm good. Because I actually have a plan. I'm tracking it, chill. So sometimes that's the self-assessment piece, assess yourself. So going back to that example is you might measure your goal of acquiring the skills to become head of marketing by determining that you have completed the necessary training courses and gained the relevant experience within 5 years' time, per this example. Depending upon where this person is in the company, it would take 5 years to become head of marketing. They might be a marketing manager at this point, right? So how do we get to VP? It might take this long. Going into achievable, your goal also needs to be realistic and attainable to be successful. In other words, it should stretch your abilities, but still remain possible, right? So if you're like, I want to be head of marketing, right? And you set this as well, I'm gonna do it in 2 years. But say for this particular company, they want you to have an MBA, right? You don't have the money, you haven't applied to any programs yet. So an MBA program usually takes about 2 years. You have to figure out how to pay for it. You have to have the time to not work to do it, or maybe work part-time, depending upon if you have children, all those other factors, it might take 3. So realistically, 2 years isn't going to be, attainable. So that's how you bring down the frustration and move into let me extend this timeline to be more realistic. And that's moving in. You see how all of the SMART goals are like fluid within each other? It isn't like so much, rigid that it's just like here and then here. It's all fluid. So you have to think about that as far as achievable and setting the realistic piece and based on constraints and other financial factors. Relevant. The step is about ensuring that your goal matters to you. This also aligns with other relevant goals. We all need support and assistance in achieving goals, and that's why coaching, connecting to people who are in the same space so you can feel like, okay, I'm tracking what needs to happen. I'm actually getting the knowledge that I need. I'm gaining the skills, and I'm confident in my abilities. This is going to happen. You're actually conversing with the people who are going to help you make those connections and make things happen to make the progress in your business or in your career as you're transitioning happen. And so it's important to regain control over them. And that's why I was like, chill, focus, you got this, right? Make sure that your plans drive everyone forward, but that you're still responsible for achieving your goal. As an entrepreneur, we are problem solvers. As entrepreneurs, we're problem solvers. Most people who start businesses, they started based upon wanting to solve a problem, right? And so it's our responsibility to always know that that is essentially our our guiding post, Connected to the mission. Why am I doing this? Connected to your why. Focus on that. And everything else will fall into place if you have that tracking. It's kind of like when you're writing a paper and you need your thesis. Go back to it. Is it answering what you said you were going to do? Thinking about how that transfers into other areas of your life. So does this seem worthwhile? Is this the right time, right? So for me, like I actually, and I'm using my example from a relatable place, I initially was in a graduate program and I was like, I'm going to get my master's in education and I want to work in like adult education but focusing on human development as it relates to doing corporate trading and exactly what I'm doing right now. Started this program, was into it. It's going to be great. And then a month in the program, I'm pregnant with twins. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So many appointments, so many things, right? So instead of getting down on myself and going like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I had to reassess. It wasn't relevant at that time. The relevant thing at that time, and it shifted, is understanding that the goal is not getting rid of the goalpost, but knowing that sometimes it has to move. That's it. So The relevant thing at that time was making sure that I was healthy and that the girls were not, you know, going through the program. It sucked, but you have to be realistic too. See, it wasn't realistic. So is it applicable in the current socioeconomic environment? So that goes back to do I have, like, we're in the middle of a recession. Do I have the space to leave my full-time job to do entrepreneurship? Should I do that? Or should I figure out how to transition versus just cutting it off and then jumping into it? Thinking about that kind of stuff. And then the final T, time sensitive, time based. Every goal needs a target date so that you have a deadline to focus on and something to work toward. This part of the SMART goal criteria helps you to prevent everyday tasks from taking priority over your longer term goals. So a time-bound goal would usually answer these questions. When? What can I do 6 months from now, 6 weeks from now? What can I do today? And that is going to actually be a good segue into the next part of this conversation, which is prioritization, right? So once you're thinking about setting a goal, you have it in mind of what you want to do, you have to prioritize. Not just the goals, because we're actually functioning adults and some of us have children and other responsibilities. So we have to prioritize things throughout the day, throughout that timeline that we set. And this is where it starts to get tricky, right? So this is called a 2x2 matrix. So it's called a 2x2 matrix prioritization chart. And there is no one way to do a 2x2 matrix prioritization chart. So what you're going to leave with today is ways to actually put your ideas, Whitney, Lou, your happenings onto paper. And you can do this with everything in your life. This is one example. And essentially you think about like math, right? And you have at the top, this is high value. And then this is from bottom, so low at the bottom. Let's use my mouse. Low at the bottom, high at the top. And this side of the matrix represents user value. So that's if you have a product. And for the target audience, for them, the value is low here and high here. And then this is the effort by the organization, or effort by the entrepreneur, effort by the freelancer. High effort to low effort. If it is high value to the user and low effort to the organization. I'm sorry, I need to start here. If it is low value to the user, and high effort by the organization, it's an absolute no. So you just no, don't even do it. You don't have to do everything at one point, and you shouldn't do everything at one time. But on the contrary, if it is high value to the organization, to the user, and low effort to the organization, it's an absolute yes. And when I talk to people about prioritizing, that's essentially what is something that you can do right now without thinking about money, without thinking about resources, without thinking about if your kids are going to get picked up in school from time, like that kind of stuff. I can do this right now. And it also has value to the people that I want to serve. That's an absolute yes. But then you have these the gray areas in between, right? So that's what you come into. Low value to the organization, but it's high value to the user. And then over here you have low effort by the organization and low value by the user. And for me, this actually is it's not important, or you can delegate that. And that comes down to, from a consulting standpoint or from an entrepreneurship standpoint, if you know another organization that is a partner or something like that, and they are actually looking for clients actively, and for you it isn't a priority, but they're doing it, that's when you do referrals. Does that make sense? So that would be an example of how you would make a referral based upon this matrix. So I'm gonna move into another example. This one is the Eisenhower matrix. You see how right here, it kind of explains what I just said: eliminate or delegate or give that to someone else. So here they've changed the matrix to be not important, And there's no like user or organization. It's just pretty much the task itself or the product itself or the offering itself, whatever it might be. It's not important and it's not urgent. Delegate. It's important and it's urgent. Do that first. It's important but not urgent. Do it later. It's not important and it's not urgent. Eliminate it. Is everybody tracking? Do I need to go back to say anything? No? Go ahead, Kate.
I was gonna say that sounds good.
Okay. And here's one more example. This one is actually mural. It's one of my favorites. And we're actually going to do this, a little activity. So right here you have, it's just two measures, importance and urgency. So here they actually went into talking. So some of those ideas like relationship building, blog makeover, product production capability activities, find new ideas and opportunities. Call with Derek, vacation planning. You see how it's all mixed with business stuff and also personal stuff. This one is check all bills and payments, answer emails. You can see. So right now at this point for this person, the call with Derek is low importance, low urgency. You see, the importance is here, the urgency is here. So you understand how it's working now and how there's different ways to do it. And this is a digital visualization of one with actual items on it. And we're going to actually do that. So let me stop sharing. It's the mouse again, you guys. So we have 20 minutes. We're going, oh my gosh, this mouse. I cannot. There we go. I just used my finger. Okay. So behind me, you see, I have prepped and prepared a board for you guys. You know, this is how I roll. So there are a few things you're going to need. You probably have these at home. All you're going to need is a few sticky notes. I like different colors, depending upon whatever it is. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, blue is for like, because I said I'm a twin mom. I also am the director of ACE, and I also am an entrepreneur, right? And then there's also Nita. I want to take care of you. So that's 4 different sticky notes. So I'll do like, this one's ACE. This one's anything that has to do with my children. This one is what has to do with me. And this is my business. Everybody tracking? Thumbs up. Okay, actual activity. So this one's ACE. Right now I have to, let's put something, send senior director email, right? So that's one. We'll just put it here. I don't have to sit down. So send the director email, that's the ACE one. This one is a pickup dry cleaning. So that's for Nita. This is what I have to do today, pick up dry cleaning, okay? And then the purple one, it's like, let's see, book 2-year checkup for my daughters, right? That's for my daughters. That one's there. And they're already 2, right? So that's how you need to think about it. They're already 2, and I need to book a 2-year checkup for them. They're already 2. And then the final, the blue one is for my business. I need to get, and these are just not things that I'm actually doing, it's just examples. Get my business license. Okay. All right. So based upon this chart, and this is how you can do it on paper. Sometimes you can do throwaway, or I like dry erase boards. So I have this here, right? So I have it already built out. And this is how I decided to organize my chart. Can y'all see? Kinda. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So we have low effort at the top, low value over here. And then I have high effort over here, high effort down here, high value on the right. This is just how I did it. So then I made it even more clear. Do later, do now, don't do, do next. Okay. So I have these 4 sticky notes. So right now it is 12:45 and the meeting that I have with my director is to talk about our budget, and that's Friday, right? And today's Thursday. I have this meeting I have to send her this email for this meeting on Friday. So that's the timeline for that. This book the 2-year checkup. My girls are already 2, right? And say their birthdays, I don't know, I'm just giving an example. Their birthday they're 2 and their birthday was May. So that means I'm like, how far overdue? A lot. Okay, pick up dry cleaning, okay? Say I dropped it off Monday and I have to pick it up today, but the latest they'll give me is till next Monday, right? And then get the business license. So as far as prioritization, if you were Nita, who wants to prioritize these for me? How should I prioritize these? Who wants to start? Kiwan, you came on the camera. Go ahead. Which one should I focus on first?
You'll start with family, kids.
What'd you say?
So you will start with the family first, kids.
Okay, you said start with the family first. See where his value is. So I'll book my 2-year checkup. Where should I put it? Do later, do now, don't do, or do next?
Do now, because you're already behind on it.
Okay, because I'm already behind on it. Okay. What else? So pick up dry cleaning. Where should I put this?
That's last.
Last as in what? Do later, don't do, or do next?
Later, because she gave you an extension on the dates.
Okay. And then get my business license. So this isn't specific because I said get my business license. Does this mean I need to apply for it or I need to go pick it up?
You gotta
See,
apply
I messed
for
up right here too, right? I wasn't specific. So how can I adjust that?
You need to be more specific and say, like, tell us if you need to apply for it or if you're just like, if you have to go pick it up.
Exactly. So I'm going to put pick up my business license. Where should I put that?
I'll say later.
Later. And that goes later too.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last one, send my director the email about our meeting we have Friday.
Yeah, that's important because that's coming up.
So where do I put that?
Right under the children.
So I'll put that do now?
Do now.
Okay. So we have what we will call it's not a debacle, but it is a debacle, right? So here you are, you're like, I have 2 things to do now and 2 things to do later. So now you have to prioritize those things. So here we have another method. Within the method is another method. So this one, I'll just move these. So we got these in the same spot and these in the same spot. Okay. So this is just called the now, next, later method. So you have 2 things that you want to, these sticky notes are terrible. I need to buy some and get my program coordinator to write more reinforced sticky notes. Restore the space. So let's focus on the things that we're supposed to do now, right? So send director the email, book my 2-year checkup. So now within the now, right? Which one should I actually do first? Then next. Which one? Whitney, what you think? This is literally how we have to figure out life. Isn't it something? And now we're showing you a methodology to make it make sense. What do you think, Kate?
I would say go ahead and send that email real fast.
Because that's what? Why?
It's due tomorrow. I mean,
It's due tomorrow. And what else is it based upon the language we just talked about? Is that low effort or high effort?
It's a low effort.
It's a low effort. But I'm just sending her like, hey, here's the document that we're reviewing tomorrow. That's it. It's low effort. So it's tracking that kind of stuff too. And that comes back to like, hey, I got it under control, figure it. That's low effort. I know what I'm going to say. Now booking the 2-year checkup, then I can do that later. You know why? Because like, I didn't even mention or say anything about like, did I find a pediatrician yet? And if I did, do I even have availability, right? Or is it something I can just do online and schedule it? Is it even virtual? Can I go in place? I got to think through too many things. You see what I'm saying? So that takes more effort versus the email to send to my director. I'm already at work. I'm already in the zone. I can just go ahead and knock that out and then do that later. So going back to the point of the prioritization, everything I just said about that book, the See Your Checkup, it's a possibility that that has moved in prioritization based upon these other two things. Do you understand what I'm saying? If we think about the effort that comes along with it. If I'm literally just picking up the dry cleaning and then going to pick up the business license, another thing to think about is, what if my dry cleaning is downtown and so is where I need to pick up the business license? Can I do those at the same time? Or one after the other? Right? And I can just knock that out. I can send the email real quick and let me run out and do this. And then maybe this evening, if my doctor is a virtual one, then I can do it later, or actually research, see if they actually are taking appointments. So you see how I just like, these are 4 simple life examples, but like, you have to actually use brain power to decide. So think about doing all of this within all of these systems. Personally taking care of yourself, taking care of your business, taking care of your family or children. And then if you are working full-time still, taking care of your priorities that is going to help you self-fund, right? So that's why it's important to establish a methodology so that you aren't losing your mind. And sometimes, I have to be honest, there's sometimes when I'm just like, I'm not doing anything. We had this thing. So I'm ex-military intelligence. We used to have this saying when I was in language school to where like, there's so much to do that I choose to do nothing. And that's where that concept of like failure to launch comes in, or where you just continue to just do things sporadically to the point of lose, like I'm just kind of like flowing, because it's probably a lot to actually establish those practices. Or Whitney, when you say I have lots of ideas, but I don't know what to do next because you're still like in your head. So sometimes putting the stuff on paper, visualizing it, it actually makes it a lot easier to see it as digestible. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So another method that I use is sometimes I'll actually just write down everything out of my head, like a huge list of things. And you can decide if you want to organize them or categorize them into, okay, personal, business, like I just did, and then strategize and prioritize based upon that list. What's low effort, what's versus low effort and high value. High importance, excuse me, importance. You can change that from, let me see, you can see this again. So low value, low effort. Do it later. High value, low effort, do it now. Low value, high effort, don't do it. Or high value, high effort, do it next. Always having like that thought process in your mind, it keeps you from being scatterbrained, overwhelmed. It keeps you from being like, or even doing things that are outside of your scope. It helps you to maintain your capacity for what you're actually capable of doing and what makes sense to start with next. And once you actually reference that and come back to it, it'll make you even more confident and competent about your capabilities. What makes you, going to the actual business example, which we'll go into now, that's what makes you financeable, because you have a clear understanding, you've done your research, you've thought things through, you've actually reached out to find for your market what's needed, for people who actually are in the space, who you can receive coaching from, what you need to do to make that happen. You're making the connections with the people that can help you along the way to make that happen. You are organized in your thoughts, you're organized in your business, because if there's one thing I know about entrepreneurship is this, like your life and professional are all mixed together. There is no separation. It's all interwoven. And so from that, we're actually going to move into like finishing off with an actual example through a persona that I've developed, and her name is Transitioning Teresa. So Terry, we changed her name to Terry, my bad. So I'm going to share my screen again. But before I go on, does anyone have any questions about the methodology that I just shared? The 2x2 matrix, or either the now, next, later method. You see how once I went into the now, next, later, it made it even more clear how like, okay, wait, let me actually think through this. Come on.
No, it made perfect sense.
Okay. Whitney, is there anything that you wanted to add or ask me before I move on?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Lou? Are you still there, Lou?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. All right. So let me share my screen again and we're finishing up. All right, can y'all see my screen? All right, so this is Terry, you guys. So clearly, as you can see, Terry is for a living, she's a teacher or an instructor of some sort, right? So the fun thing about the 3 phases of business as it relates to ACE and the SBA are planning, implementation, and growth. And what we just talked about is getting your idea part, getting your ideas together about what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, as it relates to SMART goals and strategizing, if you will, low effort, high effort, all of those things. So now that we have these tool sets, these mindset tool sets, if you will, this is how I'm understanding and conscious of where I am in my phase of business. And so a lot of people tend to say, I'm gonna start a business. And they immediately put up a social media page, say I need a logo, do all these things in marketing. So they're operating in a growth phase or even an implementation phase. And to the example that Whitney said, I don't have my business plan together, but I have these ideas. But sometimes we already start having clients because we've been already doing it. It's low effort. You know what I mean? It's low effort and it's, this person needs it. So it's important to them. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. But then when you come into the finance piece and you're like, hey, I've been doing this in consulting, you're doing this for a long time, or I've been doing hair, or I've been doing whatever it is. And then you're like, I want to grow now. I need more money. And you're thinking about it from a lending standpoint. And then you have the powers that be, if you will, the organizations that are giving you the money or whatever to say, well, you're not an established business. You haven't been in business. You don't have your EIN. You don't have any business collateral. You don't have a bank account. You don't. And so you start getting all of these things being thrown at you and you feel like, wait, hold on. I didn't know that I had to do all that, or nobody told me about this methodology or whatever. So this is why making sure you are competent and conscious of the steps and what it takes to be able to do those things, so that when you actually operate in a space, you can function effectively. So we're going to go through this persona. So here is Terry. So transitioning Terry is in the planning phase of her business. So this is going through what that actually means in a real world example. She registers as a client of the ACE Women's Business Center, Savannah Region, to take advantage of the many resources available. She's actively receiving coaching and connections to get her business idea off the ground while still working full time. So like that can be in a direct example of she registered as like, hey, I saw this webinar you had about planning and ideation and I came and I visited it. Okay, and I tracked it. And because I'm an SBA powered organization, say she doesn't have any actual capital because she's still working, but she's like, I want to start this cupcake business and I make desserts all the time and I just give them to people, right? And she wants to actually get that going. So I coach her about the 10 steps to starting a business. I connect her with a SCORE mentor. I connect her with the consumer credit counseling service because maybe her credit isn't a good space, or you know what I'm saying? Like things like that. I give her information on the lending opportunities that the Small Business Assistance Corporation has and that Carver State has, so that she'll know what the goal is so that she can work toward being able to attain that. So now that she has an idea and it's clear what the expectations are, she can work toward it to do that transition from working full time to launching her actual cupcake business. But she's working while waiting. So in the implementation phase, transitioning Terry is in the implementation phase of her business. She has onboarded, I'm sorry for the typo, she has onboarded her first client, meaning she has a small little order where she made cupcakes for her birthday. I don't know, like 2 dozen or 3 dozen, something like that. And she is comfortable with her business plan. So she got her business plan together through Dream Builder or whatever, because I gave her all this coaching. She has her business plan together. She's comfortable with it. And she's like, okay, I have my first client. Now I want to really like seriously legitimize my business so that I can receive connections in order to receive microlending. So she got her EIN. She registered her business with the state of Georgia. She got her business license, whatever she needed to do to make sure that she can operate her kitchen, her safe serve, all of those things, all those checklist things that relates to what it takes to being able to run a cupcake business or a baking business outside of her home. Another thing that it might be, if she wants credentialing for more catering opportunities in the long run, that might be connecting her with the program through Savannah Tech or something to get that certification. So we're thinking about all those different things that might need to happen. And that's the seriously legitimizing the business. She starts attending more events and trainings to improve her business collateral. Her business collateral is essentially your tracking system for what you're actively doing in your business to show that you are serious about it to potential lenders. And then the final phase, it's not final though, because to K1's point, that you're always in the planning phase, right, of your business, because you're thinking about how can I do this better? That's called iteration, and that's another workshop. How can I do this better? How can I improve this? How might we is the statement that we do in the user experience world. So transitioning Terry has been a client for over 2 years. So she's been working while waiting, like I said. She's been referred to numerous community partners throughout the city. Say she's booked small, like bigger catering events or whatever for weddings, for things like that. She joined the chamber. She's improved her business collateral and has secured capital to get her business to the next level. She was able to get an Small Business Assistance Corporation micro lending loan or step lending or something. She got a credit in order. Now she's ready to move from micro lending to commercial lending. So I'm just jumping, right, as a great example. Say she's been doing it for over 2 years. She's generated at least say 10. So micro lending is $50,000 or less in the CDFI space. Say she's generated $50,000 in her business, 50 to 60. She wants to transition from being a teacher, but she needs to actually grow. She's growing out of her place or whatever. So she wants to move into commercial lending to fund her brick and mortar space. After that, the next stop is hiring a team. Kawan can talk to this point. That's another planning phase, right? And then the green grass grows all around and around. And just kidding. So we're starting it over again. So that's it, you guys. It's just showing you how like you are always thinking about what the next step is, what you need to do from there, and prioritizing, having that tool in your toolkit of knowing how to take all of those life happenings and things and to prioritize them will definitely help you to set you up for success way better. That's all that I have. I appreciate y'all's time. Here's all my information, and that's it. Kate?
Sorry, it was not letting me come off mute. Thank you. That was great. And I think you put your information up there. So is the best way to reach out via email? Do you want me to direct people to your website on the post?
Yeah, so going back to the website is definitely the easiest way. I'm going to go ahead and put this QR code up one more time just so that they can take a picture of it if they want to share it and go directly to it.
Perfect.
Yep, there it is.
Great. And
it goes right to the website. You can send me a message through the contact form, or my email's there too if you want to do a direct email. And that's
Great.
it.
Awesome. Well, we are right at 1:03, and I don't want to keep you because I know you sound like you've got a budget meeting tomorrow.
I got to send that email to my director. That one's actually true.
Okay, well, so we know where to find Nita, and then if you guys want to go back and watch this, it should be posted by next week, and it'll either be in next week's newsletter or the week after next, but it'll be on our website under our resources tab, and you can find it there. And then Nita, I can send you the recording too if you'd like, so you can use it on social media or whatnot.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. But I appreciate you being here, Nita. I appreciate everybody coming, and I hope everyone has a great day.